In James 1 and 27, James, who was Jesus' half-brother and was known as a Jew of the Jews, he was the most pious Jewish leader of his day in Jerusalem. According to tradition, he used to go up to the temple every day on his knees. He was an incredible guy. He says this: pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress, refusing to let the world corrupt you. Now, I find this absolutely fascinating because, you know, I come from a long line of preachers. My family have been in the ministry full-time since about 1913. Uninterrupted. That's the problem with us Catalans. You can't interrupt us. But I cut my teeth on a church pew. I don't know how many thousands of services I've attended and how many. I do have an idea of how many thousands of sermons I've preached. But the point is, I've been born and bred a churchman, and I understand that there are strong subcultural church values that you cannot avoid or even ignore by virtue of the fact that you're a corporate entity. And because there's other people there with you, there has to be some regard for process, diligence, predictability, tradition, values, what have you. What I find interesting about this passage in James 1:27 is there's no mention of subcultural church values. And I say that because he starts by saying pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means. So this is something we got to take a hard look at. Orphans and widows imply distress, and they require care. And what James is emphasizing here is what Jesus emphasized, what the Old Testament prophets emphasized, that if you say you love God and don't love your neighbor, the truth is not in you. And so the neighbor threshold, if you will, begins with the lowest common denominator. Those who are in distress. Those who are in deepest need. And they're always the orphan and the widow. I mean, there's others. There certainly is the alien. And there's those to whom life accidents have happened. I mean, this is true. But if you're going to understand the bare bones, if you will, of the kind of religion that God is impressed with, it's a kind of religion that's not religion at all. It's that heart of compassion for the broken. And so justice is a critical element in authentic faith. And then refusing to let the world corrupt you, in James' words, is simply a reference to righteousness. Freedom from our world's corruption is critical to the attainment of righteousness. And, you know, we could do a whole study on corruption. Generally, in our culture, corruption refers to being on the take, taking money that, you know, doesn't belong to you through some kind of, nefarious way or means. There's other elements to corruption, but it generally refers to making your way in a way that you have not earned. Well, righteousness and justice mean a clean, pure relationship with heaven. Justice means a clean and a pure relationship with neighbor. Full stop.